Welcome back to Social 20-1, Lesson 13, Nazi Germany. Following this lesson, students should be able to understand Hitler's rise to power, describe the core values and beliefs of fascism, and connect Hitler to techniques of dictatorship. And here we go. Understand Hitler's rise to power. Here's an article you can skim through that will look at Germany from the years 1919 to 1935. Key in this article will be understanding of the Treaty of Versailles and to what extent it did not provide a just end of World War I, and therefore part of Hitler's policy will be to scrap the Treaty of Versailles and create a just end of World War I. This concept will be explored here with this quick YouTube video, and it will be also explored here. So even though we've already studied the Treaty of Versailles and to what extent it was just or not just, if you are anywhat unfamiliar with that, then please go back and rewatch those videos. Next up, we do have an excellent 6-minute summary of Hitler's rise to power. So once you remember the unjust end of World War I and you want to kind of get a taste for the big theme of today's class, then this TED Talk is your
customers are your neighbors.
Concept. So then go there next. There's some enlightenment there for you as well if you want to know more about it. Next up, describe the core values and beliefs of fascism. And I've taken the notes for you here, and they're in green. I want you to know these terms, these concepts for Social 30 for next year. So in terms of core fascist values, all loyalty needs to lie with the state. Everything for the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. Mussolini, every loyalty is with the state. So in Nazi Germany, every group is going to be a Nazi group, and a Nazi group so that you can glorify the state. So we have this idea of control through loyalty to the state. Goal of fascist states is power, conquering and controlling your neighbors. We must preserve racial and religious unity. Separation of church and state. In Germany, we're going to see the preservation of racial and religious unity through the Nuremberg laws. We're going to see their desire for world dominance connected to their specific worldview, their specific vision that includes ultra-nationalism, not just a love for your country, but a hatred for others. Because of their desire for racial and religious unity and preservation, it'll lead to ethnic cleansing, the Holocaust. One night alone, the night of broken glass, we see 1,000 synagogues attacked by an act of collective hatred by the German people. We also see within the idea of fascism room for one single charismatic leader with superhuman characteristics, not like superhuman like Marvel or DC, but superhuman in the sense of like Ubermensch, someone that's greater than we are. And therefore, we need to submit to their superior will. National unity becomes your life purpose. Within fascism, we see masters of manipulation, propaganda, and we have this extreme patriotism and this paternal unity and encouragement towards a common cause. So we see a lot of collective unity and collective identity here. Regulation or control of the economy, very little economic freedom, right? To decide what to produce. We still have individuals benefiting because they're the owners of the factory, but often the factory will have regulations placed upon it by the state. A hatred for ideologies other than theirs, specifically communism. So we have anti-communism, pro-class distinctions, right? Pro this idea that some classes, some ethnic groups are better than others. So if communism is in essence about erasing of differences by creating everyone to be equal, fascism is about the glorification of inequality by promoting the strong at the expense of the weak. So we have aggressive military expansion in the foreign policy as they feed upon the weak, survival of the fittest, might is right, the strong as it can, the weak suffer what they must kind of a mentality. Some ideas coming out of fascist Germany, during the Night of Long Knives, we have this idea of Hitler, I alone on that night was the judge, the jury, the executioner. This idea that all three branches of government are connected into one vessel, and that is the Führer, and that the Führer can do whatever he wishes. We have the idea of conformity through government policy called Gleichschaltung, and that's again when every department of government becomes controlled by the Nazis. Key fascist philosophers include Schopenhauer, Sorel, Nietzsche, and Gentile. Schopenhauer says we must submit to those with supreme will, put our destiny in their hands because they are better at guiding our destiny than we would be. Sorel says the society will tend to decay unless it is led by an authoritarian leader. Nietzsche says there are some with better or super qualities compared to us. And Gentile says, life is only purposeful when we submit to the state, serve the state. So it seems like when we look at the German case study here that people do turn to extreme ideologies in times of crisis. That the depressed economy, the high unemployment, the dissatisfied workers, the unsympathetic factory owners, the wounded national pride, lack of confidence, racial groups and political, the racial groups and the fear of other political alternatives combine into a perfect storm that lead to people embracing fascism in Germany. So that's that second outcome. Next outcome, let's connect Adolf Hitler to the techniques of dictatorship. This gives us a chance to introduce different electoral systems and also take note of the term crisis and the Reichstag fire to usurp liberty and to change democracy into a dictatorship. It's a great Prezi here, by the way, that you can go to and look for extra help. Here we have a cartoon that shows the Night of Long Knives. Common military or common characteristics of ultranationalism, militarism, narrow self-interest, expansionism, violation of human rights, racism, crimes against humanity. And then we have all these techniques that Adolf Hitler uses. And here's his speech about, in this hour I was responsible for. The idea that under fascism we don't have rule of law, we have law and order, right? We have this idea that, Hitler's above the law. He is the law. Here's a quote about, German National Socialist radicalism and racism. One thing that you can do to clarify some things here for yourself is create a list contrasting Hitler's domestic and foreign policies, and with the policies try to attach them to specific goals or outcomes that he's trying to accomplish. So here, if you want to learn more about how the Treaty of Versailles created instability to help lead to the rise of Adolf Hitler, consult these ones. If you need to see more about the other weaknesses of the Weimar Republic, the growing support for the Nazis, Hitler consolidating his power, what is the Night of Long Knives? So you could spend some time looking at each of these videos so that you can, timeline your way through this concept a little bit. We do have some supplementary resources here. Here's some notes that I would present to you in class about why did Germany reject liberalism. This talks about the conditions under which Hitler is able to rise to power in Germany. That's a great read. If you'd rather read this than watch those previous videos, then this will answer that first outcome. How did he rise to power? Then starting here, it talks about, once he's in power, whatever his major domestic and foreign policies. So my notes here will answer those outcomes for you if you'd rather summarize the notes than watch the videos. Some people really like those supplementary videos, but definitely the answers are also included in that. To look a little bit further in what is fascism, if my notes in green up above didn't answer everything for you, then I have some more keynotes listed here. These are the same as the ones that were up in green before. Maybe I should just delete those because you've already seen those. But these are some additional things that you could look at in terms of what is fascism, if you still don't understand number 2. And then there's some more summary of case studies for Adolf Hitler. I would argue that Make Germany Pay is a good one that will explore why Germany was ripe for his rise to power. That would be a good one to look at. How did Hitler rise to power is shorter. It's only a 5-minute video, so that could be helpful for you if you're stressed for time. Now, why might somebody defend authoritarianism? Here's some ideas about why people would turn to authoritarianism in Adolf Hitler's Germany. And some enrichment at the end. So in the end, big things to do today include this. Understand Hitler's rise to power. In order to do that, you could go back to the Treaty of Versailles if you don't remember how it was unfair. If you want to do a nice quick 6-minute video, here's Hitler's rise to power. Second thing, core fascist values. I've listed them here in green for you. Third thing, what are his techniques of dictatorship? They're shown here as, purges, force and terror. There's a list of common characteristics of ultranationalism there. These are some supplementary things that you could look at for more on Adolf Hitler's rule. And then there's just some notes that if the other things didn't help out, you can get the answers from them. All right. We can talk about this in class if you have any issues.